wham, bam, thank you, Sam. It was over and done within 67 days. Difficulty to deal with was an understatement. How do we deal with all that chaos and then still get promoted? The chaos is people getting sacked left, right and centre behind the scenes. The chaos is players being sold on or let go to reduce the wage bill. You have to be ruthless, really, really ruthless. That's when you become a manager.
Do you think you'll ever manage in the Premier League again?
Never fear a storm.
Be ready to adapt.
The skill is staying true to ourselves.
Sam, welcome to High Performance.
Yes, great to be here. Nice journey down on the train. And looking forward to this podcast because I've been doing my own, as you well know. So
Tippy-tappy football?
No tippy-tappy football, so I've got to get that one in straight away.
Absolutely.
And make sure everybody has a look when you get the chance. And we've been enjoying the fact that I can get out and talk about football a lot more with less restrictions, you know what I mean? And the name has been with me for a long, long time on the fact that how the game has changed to, no tippy-tappy when I say, which is too much tippy-tappy now. So I think we're finally realising that everybody's coming around to the fact that it is over-exaggerated by a million miles. And even Gary Neville did a bit of research on, which was very interesting for me, listening to Gary on what is going on. And his stats sort of came out that the people or the players with the most possession today are the defenders and the centre-halves particularly, instead of the creative midfield players. So I think it goes to show that the teams that are excellent at it, fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously it comes from Pep, and particularly, which is outstanding. And so should they play like that. But everybody else are down the leagues who are being or promoting the fact that this is the only way I'm going to play is a negative vibe on the entertainment value for me. And of course, when you're a manager, or you're not a manager now, you're a head coach, your life depends on results, whatever and however you want to play or whatever anybody says. So you can play as much out the back as you want, but if you don't win, you don't keep your job.
Yeah.
And that is very dangerous for young coaches today. I feel particularly sorry for them because it's a given fact that boardrooms are saying today, what type of football do you play? I always say winning football. And if that's not enough, well, sorry, you know what I mean? Because winning football is all what anybody and everybody wants. And a coach can only play to the strengths of his team. And the strengths of his team can only be determined by you when you're playing and being with the players every day to suit the strengths of the team and not to say, we can only play this way. And it's the wrong way to play. It's the wrong way to promote. It's the wrong way to coach. And if it's acceptable to give the ball away, as they're talking about in coaching courses now and coaching manuals, it's wrong.
I want to start with what I think is probably one of the greatest moments of your life. I was looking at these stats today. Only 19 people have ever had a phone call or a meeting where they're offered the job as the England manager.
Yeah.
Please take us into how that moment felt.
It was an unexpected moment.
Was it a phone call?
It was a phone call for an interview via my agent, and not that we'd expected it, but we threw our name into the hat because they needed a British coach or an English coach, which they still do. No disrespect to Mr. Tootle, but still think they should. And after the interview, which is the second time round, because the first time was quite a few years before that when I was at Bolton, and did a quick presentation, and they said yes, which was quite a surprise.
In the interview, they said yes?
No, a few days later. There was other interviews going on at the time, and I think that when we finally cracked it, it was the ultimate feeling of joy, excitement, nervous, and what you had to do was try and go and get the job done as quick as you can. The change in influence at St George's Park was a bit of breath of fresh air, what they told me, because everybody had to move there. Everybody had to work from there. And I thought, wow, at last they're getting a grip of it. This is the National Training Centre. And instead of being what looked like a part-time training centre, they wanted it to become full-time at all ages. And obviously, my job in particular was to be as good as I possibly could to get the team to try and win the Euro Leagues or the World Cup. And I think that internally, St George's Park was not a place the players liked. So me and Sammy Lee had quite a few days to change it, which obviously they were too pleased to do, like you mean, because the first problem was, and we couldn't change that, was that people still stayed in the hotel. And I went, you can't have anybody here when the England squad's here. You can't have any punters in the hotel, any kids, because the players couldn't get out the top floor. So you had this claustrophobic effect that they talked about. Anyway, we moved on very quickly and achieved the first squad, achieved the result we wanted, which was a 1-0. Totally battered them, really, but luckily for me, they scored in the last minute. And listen to the press conference after the press conference on the negativity around it at the time, particularly around Wayne. So I was going to sort of get the stats out there and just say, look, this was our total domination of that team, but thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity. And then wham bam, thank you, Sam. It was over and done within 67 days, which is legally challenging for me on how much I talk about it. But I sometimes think and look back now, it's a long time ago, but difficulty to deal with was an understatement. But why is something I never got to grips with, because it's, in my opinion, and lots of other people's opinion, and my lawyer's opinion, shouldn't have really happened. But I think that was panic from them, panic from their point of view, and the journey was over.
Would you mind taking us, when you say very, very briefly there, like it was painful? I think so often when someone's in the public eye, we revel in a downfall. We're joyful. We love the fact that someone's been, caught out by the papers or whatever we want to call it. And we forget about the human being, and we forget about the human being's partner and the human being's kids. Would you take us into your head at that point and those people around you that loved you and were having to watch this?
I was more concerned about them.
What was the impact on them?
The press. I mean, I slipped away, but they still found me in Spain. Followed us all over for ages, took pictures, wrote headlines, completely fabricated headlines, day after day after day after day. To a point where you look around and say, is it all worth it?
One thing I've taken on this show from conversations with the likes of Dr. Rangan Chatterjee and so many wellness experts is that if you want to make a difference to your life, then you need to have consistent habits. Habits are the thing that make a difference over time. And the reason why they're so important is because for me, a bit like you, my life is full. My life is full of trying to fit in training and filming, making TV shows, running businesses, being a dad. So I can't also add stuff that overcomplicates my routine. And that's why AG1 has been a part of my life and my wife's life for years now. It's one scoop mixed with water and we're done. And inside, over 70 ingredients, vitamins, minerals, gut-friendly bacteria and adaptogens that all work together to support my energy, my focus and my recovery. This is the kind of simple, effective habit that helps to keep my health in check without adding extra stress or extra time to my life. And right now, I've got an offer for you worth £68. Subscribe and you will get 5 travel packs, vitamin D3 and K2, and the AG1 welcome kit for free. All you have to do is head to drinkag1.com/high-performance. That's drinkag1.com/high-performance, or click the link in the description to get started.
Regarding of the evidence, it doesn't really matter, does it? So I think it went round about, gosh knows, nearly every country in the world. I did a bit of research with somebody who offered to help on the press side of it, But I think that in the end, you or I've got to try to not look at it.
Right. What was it doing for you if you did look at it?
Well, it was the false stories, the false narratives, the fact that it was all about something that wasn't really or hadn't really happened, and I think that like everything else, the newspapers need big stories, don't they? And this was a big story. But the negativity around it and the fact of the matter is that I'd have to say this. I've been with Actoff. I've met a lot of Actoff, and I'm quite fortunate because what's happened to some of them is staggering from the press point of view. So I went and spent some time with that because I thought it would be interesting to see and mingle with other people that had been in that situation and listen to their stories. And I came out like I've got off pretty lightly compared to some of the things that had happened to them. But it was a great phone call from Steve Parish, because that was the turning point, because he had no qualms about employing me and said what a load of rubbish that was.
And how did that feel?
Great, because I'm back in the Premier League now.
Can I ask you something? What was the fabricated headline that stung most?
The fabricated headlines were the change of the actual recording, according to my lawyer. The change, the twist to make the story bigger and better than it actually was.
Wow.
So there was no rule breaking. There was no law breaking. That was said in the House of Commons by the FA about 2 months later when they got called up to say what's going on here, and to say that I'm breaking these rules, and they wrote a slavery headline. This is slavery, and I mean, the fact of the matter is that those rules were never broken. Those third-party ownership rules. I never suggested they'd be breaking in the conversation I'd had, but which obviously took an awful long time to find out. I mean, I had the best lawyer I've ever experienced in my life, on the job he did, and the trouble is, you can't, even though it was set up before, and I can't remember the initials what they are now, that was set up after Actoff to protect us. Complete waste of time.
And I'm interested in, you said when the press were hounding you in Spain, you asked yourself, is it worth it? What was that reflection period like for you?
I think that it's probably the most depressing time I've ever, apart from, your parents dying, or, Lynn's parents passing away, or some close friend passing away. Probably the worst experience. And of course, you then there's your grandkids at school, you know, they're going to get a lot of stick, you know what I mean? And then obviously you've got your own kids and all that. That was, you know, there's one or two wisecrackers and they're not all the time. Like, I mean, just tell them not, whatever you do, don't thump them. You know what I mean? So, because it's not worth it. Like, I mean, just walk away.
Do you think you were depressed?
Well, there's no doubt about that. Like I said, Steve got me out of it, and I've been ever grateful for that particular time. Like, I mean, I had a great journey on achieving what we wanted to achieve when I went into I think it was in mid-December into Palace. Like, I mean, and finished the season brilliantly.
And do you think the depression or the sadness, the darkness that you had, was it all those years of building a career to the pinnacle that every football manager dreams of being taken away? Was it your brain thinking, I could have really done something with that squad? I could have.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Oh, there's no doubt about the people call it arrogance or ego, but I've nothing but confidence in my own ability because of the time and length I have taken every challenge on board and succeeded with it. Not to the length of I've got a load of these great trophies and medals, but apart from, I would probably say West Brom, which unfortunately was, too difficult for me to save them because two things. We tried our very hardest with the loan players in January. It's all we could afford. We changed the results around, but not good enough. But COVID was the killer. If you've got a squad in or around the bottom of the league, and you're restricted with your training time, you're restricted with how many people you have in a room in your training ground, and you're running out of time. When I look back on that now, and some players coming back from COVID couldn't run. They were that bad.
Do you think if you'd have remained in the England job, you would have won a trophy?
Oh, well, I got to think that. I mean, I can't take the job without thinking I'm going to win it. I also think I had the team for it. Still do. Still think you got the squad for it.
How do you think that period when you were being hounded and you lost the job, how do you feel that's changed you as a person and as a manager since?
I try to be less. What I got to think of the right word now. I try to be a little calmer. I can be a bit dominating. So the missus tells me. And once I get on a subject, you can't shut me up. And she says, shut up because you don't know everything. So I have to rein in on that scenario. I have a bit of an opinion on what I believe is right. And I've always tried to say it as it is.
Mm.
Not bullshit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, if we're poor, we're poor. If we're okay, we're okay. And if we're great, we're great. Like, there's many managers come on the TV and says, well, we just got defeated again, but we were good, weren't we? We played the right way. We did a lot of things right, didn't we? No, you didn't, because you didn't win.
And why did that period teach you to be more like that?
I think because if you put yourself out there too much, they'll bring you down. As many people as support you, I think you're great. The other side are the dislikers, the disapprovers, and those are the ones that you don't. As you get upset by it in your early parts of your careers, but you really try and avoid them and avoid it when you get older and get a bit wiser. Like you mean, so you build your own standards and you build your own career by what you believe in, and that's where you stay strong and where you stay strong in your beliefs. Ever many people try to change it, and how many people give you an opinion. And if it's somebody's opinion you respect, you think about it and you may well use it. But if it's somebody's opinion you don't respect, you just really move on.
What did that period around England teach you about people? Did you stop trusting people?
Oh, That's just trusting many people a long time before that. Like, I mean, there's not there's a small social gathering of yours that you trust, and you have a bigger gathering because of who you are and the people that you know, and you're great to be out with them and so on. But in terms of confidential and being confidential as a small group, you need to rely on. I mean, it's like going into a football club you don't know you can trust.
Yeah.
Because somewhere along the line, there'll be somebody who feeds something back to the board, the owner, or the chief executive, like you mean. So, is he an ally or is he an enemy? And that's one of the things you face in a football club when you go in. Who is that person? And if they are feeding back, is it negative? Is it negative feedback or is it positive feedback? But most owners or football clubs will have one. There isn't a club for Everton where they haven't had one.
And I want to talk about your clubs in a second. Just two more questions on this. The first one is, when you get that phone call from the FA saying, look, or the meeting saying, look, it's done, do you fight it? Do you kind of go, look, come on, look, try and see my side of the story? Or do you just accept that that's the decision the FA have made?
Like I said, it was a panic situation on them. I mean, you've got to bear in mind that I was golfing on the golf course for the FA at Stokes Park on a Sunday.
What, when you lost your job?
No, I was just on when I got the call. And you've got to drive all the way back. And I was on the way back home, and I got to drive all the way back down, and couldn't have any representation. This was the problem. If I'd have had my time all over again, I probably wouldn't have accepted it. I'd have probably said, let's go to court or something like that. Or at least let me have the right way. And obviously the right way was going through HR.
So they rang you while you were on the golf course playing for...
Come back down tomorrow. I was on my way back home. Come back down tomorrow.
And did you know what was coming then?
No, because I thought there'd be maybe a rap on the knuckles. If there's anything like that again, don't be, let us know. Don't let us think about it, like you mean.
And what did they say then?
Just said, this is, like I said, going into that too much is a bit more.
Yeah.
Just tell the story, told the story, what had happened. But the problem was, at the time, I'd lost my headspace by then. And that's why I needed a time period or a representation from my side of it, my lawyer, or wouldn't even let me agent in. And then we talked about HR. We'd have to have an HR meeting over this, and then about 3 hours later, you're gone. So they actually didn't. If I'd ever known what I know now, I said no. They'd have had to do two things: give me the right way. I mean, this is a big executive, biggest football organisation in the country. The FA runs all the football, and it has certain actions you're supposed to take, because you're really classed as an executive of the business, aren't you? So the protocol is serve the notice, give you opportunity to defend yourself, and then they make a decision. That never happened. So if I'd have been, my agent tried to talk me out of just doing that, being big like that, but he wasn't in the meeting in the first and was only in the meeting at the end when they just come in and said that's enough.
And all these years later, how much pain is there still for you?
Well, there's a period of whenever England play, there's a nagging in the back of the head, and that's where you always think, what if? You know what I mean? What if? But like I say, when I pop around wherever I go, I do have an 100% record, don't I? So
it's a quote from your mate Alex Ferguson that says, "A definition of a good friend is someone that walks in the room when everyone else is walking out." Who surprised you in terms of walking in the room, and who surprised you of who walked out?
So Alex invited me down to watch a game pretty quickly. Said, "Get yourself out of the house." and then quite a few friends, not too much in football, more outside of football, which is always the case. But they've been getting out and about in England was you needed to let a period of time elapse. That's why I went abroad out the way and let everything else trundle on. And then as years go on, it becomes less and less and less.
But was there anyone surprised you that walked out when you thought they'd be in your corner?
Not that I can remember much now, particularly it's a long time ago. I don't dwell in the past. I do. I probably dwell in the past more about England than anything else in my life.
Right.
It's just, no, I can't change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever the past is, it's been great for me. I've had a fantastic time, but it's the past I'm more interested in what the future brings, what the future holds, like you mean, because I gain experience, good or bad, by that, but I can't change it if I want to. Can't do that. And too many people are too negative about the past, digging up stuff that happened so many years ago, this or that or the other. And if it's the past and it's positive, let's have a chat. If we get in the pub and a few old mates that I played with, a few mates, and remember that, I can do that all day long. But if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, you didn't do that, or you didn't, what happened to that?" And I go, "Oh, forget about that. That's the past. We can't change that."
Well, let's talk then about the 100% record. Which relegation escape, when you think back to it, still gives you the goosebumps?
I think that Sunderland was intriguing on the basis of managing your owner, because it's rare now. It's rare you work with your owner,
yeah.
But you work with Ellis Short, and you tell him as it is because he tells it as is himself. So there's a I wouldn't say heated, but there is a quite lively discussion between the two of you about what he thinks and what you think and what he wants to do and what you need.
Would you take us into one of those conversations?
So, I mean, well, obviously it's about buying players in January.
Yeah.
Because you start off with saying, "I can't help you unless you're going to buy me some players in January." What do you mean? I've already put enough money into the club. I said, "Yeah, but you're going to have to put more in if you want to save it." I can save the club, but I can't save the club unless I got your help. I can't be as good as I want to be without your help, and without better players. And the trick on getting out of trouble is obviously convincing the players that if we work hard and we stick together, we'll get out. We'll get out of trouble if we do these things. And obviously, all the stats lads come in play then and give everybody all what we need to do, which is not that difficult on paper, because it's well, if you remember old Al Pacino, it's only inches, and that's all it is. Each player gives a few more inches. You will get there, like you mean. So you build a picture of what you do in terms of points, goals against, free kicks, set plays, clean sheets, and what the points total brings you, and what points total you need to try and get in small pockets of play to give them a clear vision on from when we start to when we've got to go, how to get to where we go. So that we're not talking about we're just talking about small pockets and reviewing it. Are we getting closer to getting out of trouble, or are we still in trouble? Are we in more trouble? There's two clubs I built in the Premier League. It was Bolton and West Ham. And so the tag is Fireman Sam or whatever it is, because that's the way it went. You know what I mean? But before that, and quite a lot of people have forgotten the fact that you can build, if you've got the opportunity, you've got the time, and you've got the will, you can build a football club for the future. not just the present. And too many clubs are just about the present and not about the future. It's all about this year and not next year. And if you can get a 3-year plan or 5-year plan into place, and then you're going to succeed on the basis that what the club give you in terms of finance to build that, and you use wisely. Make sure you can get the right staff, get the right players, and grow. The trouble is, everybody wants you to grow straight away, and it's a need, a necessity to keep your job, but then to change things as quick as you can to get the team better with better players, finding better players. So I've got to persuade, particularly, and at West Ham, I've got to persuade that the club needs to forget that it's all about just this season, and think about what we're going to do when we get there, how we're going to stay there, and how we're going to, for West Ham, how we're going to develop to go into the new stadium. At Bolton, it was all about, I had a 10-year contract, and we're deciding that we've found these players initially want to keep the wages down. When I say keep the wages down, we didn't have long contracts for anybody. They were all coming in on loan or coming in on a free, and they were all having 50% reduction in the wages if we got relegated.
So do you think you'll ever manage in the Premier League again?
Depends who it is and whether they feel like I could contribute to making them better than what they are at that particular time.
Do you feel you will, though?
I think if the right opportunity comes, I probably wouldn't be against, and I've just changed my mind for this. My wife won't like this, by the way, but she knows I've gotten a bit itchy. But I wouldn't mind doing what I did at Bolton and what I did at West Ham.
Building a club up.
Yeah, building the club up. Because West Ham, in all fairness, talk about how did we do it. So sometimes I look at West Ham and say, how did we deal with all that chaos and then still get promoted? Because the chaos is the downside.
Yeah.
The chaos is the negativity of a relegated team. The chaos is people getting sacked left, right and centre behind the scenes, and players being sold on or let go to reduce the wage bill, and then to reinvent the club with the players that you bring in, and the players that are already there that want to stay, and then getting rid of the players that don't want to stay as quick as possible. That's when you become a manager. That's when you're not a coach, you're a manager, because you have to be ruthless, really, really ruthless, and telling them they've got no future. You need to get yourself away as quickly as possible. You're not going to get involved in this team. You want away, or you don't particularly want that player to stay. You tell them. Say, don't hang about, because you won't like it.
I think the fire for you to manage burns as bright as ever, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, it's a great life, innit?
What do you mean when you say you're getting a bit itchy?
Get a lot. I don't know. Sometimes I look and say, well, you look and say, look. Well, there's something times I look and say, you look at the stress of a manager on the bench and you go, I know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
You're willing to go back
exactly what you're going through. Like, I mean, so, but then there's the buzz, isn't there? And of course, at 70, dealing with young people is a great inspiration. Like you mean, and staying relative, I suppose. And I think that it's a great. I'm talking for them. I left school at 15 and never worked in my life. I say that wherever I go. I left school at 15 and never worked. And then there's only them small parts of my life, like you talked about England and other parts and disappointments, but most of there's that 90% positive and only 10% negative.
Absolutely. Quick fire questions. Are you ready for some?
Yeah, I don't answer quick fire questions.
Well, let's see how we go.
I'll try my best.
Did you nearly sign Robert Lewandowski?
Yes.
How did it not happen?
The snow, the volcano in Iceland.
What? Can you tell us the story?
Stopped all flights. He was at the airport ready to fly over to Blackburn and sign on. And all the ash cloud stopped all them flights for a week or so. And Bayer Leverkusen jumped in and signed him.
So Blackburn could have signed Robert Lewandowski.
Even he talks about it.
Does he?
Which is surprising, but he does.
What are the 3 non-negotiable behaviours that you and people around you are expected to buy into?
Don't be injured and not report it.
Yep.
Yeah. Discipline and respect for everybody that works at the football club, even the laundry lady, even the groundsman, the kit man, whoever it is, respect.
Greatest player you ever managed and why?
This is so hard. So hard. I mean, I've managed Wayne Rooney. He's one of the greatest players, but I think he was, not at his, when he came to Everton, not as his brilliant best, but just an unbelievable character and player. So I need to sort of mention him. But I, overall, the greatest player that made an influence was Yuri Yorkev and Fernando Hierro. But the overall contribution was the time JJ Okocha stayed there. Because he was the captain and he was the inspiration. And other players, I think I remember somebody telling me that, why is JJ Okocha playing in that team? Other players on the opposition, Terry Henry said it apparently. Why is JJ Okocha playing in that team? He's so good, I'd go and watch him, something like that. And he's great leader.
Yeah.
If you could go back to one moment of your life, what would it be and why?
In football terms, it has to be in football terms, would be winning promotion at Bolton Wanderers. Because Bolton Wanderers is everything. It started me off. It let me play there for 10, 12 years. It brought me back as manager and we had the best time ever. Just a pity they spoilt it.
If you give yourself one bit of advice as a young Sam just starting out in life, what would the advice be?
Believe in your own ability and never lose the dream. It's not a mission statement and all that rubbish the business school come out with and all that. It's your dream. Fulfill your dreams. Never lose your dream. Never try to fulfill your dream. And that's what I did at 9. I've had a dream at 9 and fulfilled every bit of it. No, I'm 70.
Aye.
I'm still here.
Looking young.
What's the single best piece of advice you've ever received? Who from and why?
Football terms is the fact that you if you're going to be a manager, Sam, you must manage your way and nobody else's.
Thanks so much for your time.
Pleasure.
You know what I really love? Sitting in this room, having the incredible conversations that you get to watch on High Performance. But something else I love is taking the lessons and the learnings from the likes of KSI and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Matthew McConaughey and all these other incredible guests we've had on High Performance and taking them out to you, to your businesses, to your people. And whether it's sitting around a small group of 6 senior leaders or maybe in an auditorium with 2,000 or 3,000 staff members, myself and Damien just love helping you and your people get closer to your own version of high performance. And we've done it in Germany, in Dubai, in North America, in South Africa, you name it. We've traveled the world sharing our message of high performance. And if you'd love us to come and work with you and your business, all you have to do is hit the link in the description and we will be with you, getting you and your team closer to high performance.